The really funny part about having a shared superhero universe is that heroes from other books can just show up unannounced. And if you want some real fun, you can explore what happens when those superheroes run afoul of somebody else's bad guy. These superheroes really had no business tangling with these villains, but that just makes it all the more fun to talk about. I'm Will for What Culture, and here are 10 times superheroes fought the wrong villain. 10. Daredevil and Mysterio, Guardian Devil. Frankly, any storyline involving Mysterio has no right to be anything other than wacky comic book goodness, and this tale is no exception. Here we have Mysterio tricking a teenage girl, and by extension Daredevil, into thinking she's pregnant with the Antichrist. After some insane and tragic shenanigans, including the actual murder of longtime love interest Karen Page, Daredevil finally runs Mysterio down, and berates him as an unoriginal loser, pointing out how previous villains have done just the exact same thing, and always unsuccessfully. Realizing that he failed to break the man without fear, and being terminally ill anyway, Mysterio kills himself straight after. 9. Superman and Deathstroke, Superman 32. Deathstroke really found his footing as a Teen Titans villain, but that's not to say he can't tangle with the big boys too. He fought the Man of Steel a few times, but the best confrontation was during Superman Rebirth 32. The interesting thing about this fight is it's more a battle of wills and wits than of fists. When Slade sets an entire building on fire to lure Lois out, he holds her at gunpoint and gives Superman an ultimatum: kill him and save Lois, or watch her die. Superman ultimately decides to not play Deathstroke's game, and focuses on putting out the blaze and saving the other people trapped instead. He later finds Lois alive and well in a safe house, with a note left by Deathstroke stating he never intended to harm her, and this was all a test by Deathstroke's employers to see just how far Superman would go if push came to shove. 8. Justice League and Terminus, JLA/Avengers. One of the greatest crossovers of all time was the JLA Avengers comic, the epic maxi series detailing the one canonical time when the DC and Marvel universes went head to head. The story really kicks off with an epic as hell battle between the Justice League and the Marvel villain Terminus. Since he's something they've never seen before, naturally they have a pretty hard time of it at first, but ultimately they are able to wear the giant alien robot thing down, which of course just leaves them with the question of the hour. What in the 13 hells was that thing? Fortunately, they don't have to wait long for an answer, as the story very quickly gets moving at top speed. 7. Blue Beetle and Giganta, Blue Beetle 19. In the 19th issue of the 2006 run of Blue Beetle, Ladama, Jaime's crime boss rival and aunt to one of his best friends, is attacked by Wonder Woman baddie Giganta. As she chases Ladama through the streets, every trick Blue Beetle tries to bring her down bounces right off her because he's trying to subdue her like she's a normal woman, when in actuality she's, gigantic. Only when he internalizes Peacemaker's lesson about the subtleties of the human body does he finally figure out how to use Giganta's size against her. 6. Batman and the Reverse Flash, The Flash, the Button. Along with Superman, the Flash has some of the strongest rogues in DC Comics, but we have seen these heavy hitters come down to the mortal wrestling ring a few times in the past, most notably in the prelude to Doomsday Clock, The Button, where the greatest enemy of the Flash comes down to tangle with Batman. For story reasons I frankly do not have time to go into, the Reverse Flash ends up in the Batcave, and basically all hell breaks loose. While Barry does contribute to this fight as well, Batman spends a pretty long time taking Reverse Flash all on his own, just barely surviving the fight with the evil speedster, but managing to get the drop on him more than once, because, well, this is Batman on his home turf, and of course he has a trick or two up his sleeve. 5. Ms. Marvel and Shocker, Ms. Marvel 35. Now look, Shocker might be easy pickings against someone with the advantages of Spider-Man, but Kamala does not have those advantages, so while she does hold her own against the villain to the point where he's mainly played for laughs, those shockwave gauntlets are no joke, and Kamala gets knocked around pretty heavily throughout the issue. This fight comes to a draw when Bruno whisks her away via wormhole tech, leaving a very confused Shocker standing in the street alone like a dope, most likely wondering why he even bothered getting out of bed that morning. The fight is entertaining not just because of how our heroine uses her powers in a combat situation she is at a disadvantage against, but also because of how this fight only exacerbates her frustrations with the entire world. Plus, it's always good to see Shocker actually doing something. Love that guy. 4. Batgirl and Livewire, Batman the Animated Series. In this B-TAS, S-TAS crossover episode, Livewire breaks out of a prison convoy taking her through Gotham to prison, and while she's in town, decides to shack up with Poison Ivy and Harley. Thankfully, the odds are evened when Batgirl teams up with Supergirl and the two take on the three villainesses. It all ends up in an awesome fight at the zoo, where Batgirl manages to actually take down Livewire, someone who can fight Superman to a standstill, on her own. Granted, she has some help from Supergirl wrecking the place during the fight, but hey, it's still totally her victory. 3. Captain America and Prometheus, JLA/Avengers. Honestly, this whole list could be filled to the brim with fights from this classic crossover to end all crossovers, but in terms of heroes fighting the wrong villain for their book, there were none more satisfying than when Cap handily took down Prometheus. Prometheus' whole gimmick is that he has a helmet that can predict the movements of his opponents and feed him strategies, so when he steps up to take on the first Avenger, he's pretty confident he has the old man beat. In actuality, Cap takes him out in just a few panels, commenting that he took on the worst of the Nazis, so Prometheus' dinky little helmet doesn't impress him. He then moves on, leaving Prometheus in a broken heap. Badass. 2. Superman and Darkseid, Superman the Animated Series. Darkseid is sort of a villain to everybody, but originally he was squarely a New Gods villain. However, the one incredible confrontation which changed the game was when Darkseid made his appearance in the two-parter Apocalypse Now in Superman the Animated Series. It was this that cemented Darkseid as a Superman villain instead of a New Gods one. It's why Darkseid keeps appearing in later Superman books when the other New Gods are nowhere to be seen. Superman doesn't even really fight him in this. Darkseid immediately overwhelms him with his Omega Beam and presents his broken body to Metropolis. For an entire generation who had up to then never even heard of Darkseid and who thought Superman was as strong as they came, this was about as good a first impression of a villain as you can get. 1. Daredevil and the Kingpin, Daredevil 169 to 172. With the other entries on this list, while superheroes may fight other villains from other books, once the story is done, those villains will return to their rightful book and return the universe to the status quo. But the Kingpin, who debuted as a Spider-Man villain, no, that dude is a Daredevil villain now. Frank Miller needed a recognizable mobster villain that no one else was using for his newest story idea, so he pulled the Kingpin out of retirement. It's in this story that the Kingpin goes from a riff on Bond villains to the hyper-intelligent, intimidating gangster we know him as today. All culminating, of course, in the first proper brawl with Daredevil. It may have been the wrong villain at the time, but it soon became a full-on adoption of Wilson Fisk into the world of Daredevil, and the character has never looked back. And there you have it, folks. 10 times superheroes fought the wrong villain. Feel free to drop this video a like if you enjoyed it, and drop me a follow on Twitter at YouSlyDogU. I'm Will for What Culture, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you next time.